More arrests in connection with Kim Jong-nam's death. IMF forecasts 2.8% growth for Macau this year. And surge in mainland China bird flu deaths sparks care. Good evening. 2 more suspects have been detained in connection with the death of Kim Jong-nam in Malaysia. A female Indonesian suspect and a Malaysian man were both detained after a woman traveling on a Vietnamese passport had also been arrested. Police say they have now finished an autopsy, which was objected by North Korean embassy officials in Kuala Lumpur.
North Korean officials have reportedly tried to block the autopsy of Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, allegedly assassinated last Monday at Kuala Lumpur's international airport. Kim Jong-nam met his demise after 2 women, taking advantage of a security loophole between his bodyguards and local police, approached him and doused him with poison spray before fleeing in a taxi. Details of the alleged murder are unclear. But authorities in Malaysia are seeking answers from the 2 women thought to be Pyongyang operatives. Police probing the death arrested a woman posing as a Vietnamese national yesterday, and today another alleged suspect was also arrested. Reports suggest that 4 other men might have been involved in the plot. North Korean embassy officials could be seen outside the Kuala Lumpur city morgue, where Kim Jong-nam's body was due for an autopsy yesterday. The officials requested the immediate release of the body, but Malaysian authorities say they have today carried a post-mortem examination. It is unclear whether the body will be returned to North Korea or to Macau, where Kim Jong-nam's family currently lives.
Authorities here in Macau have offered police protection to Kim Jong-nam's relative living in the SAR. Meanwhile, details of Kim's life in Macau are emerging after his death, as witnesses and friends describe a carefree man who enjoyed gambling and going to saunas.
As Kim Jong-nam's death continues to be probed in Malaysia, details of his secluded life in Macau are only now emerging. Kim Jong-nam is believed to have been living in the SAR for over a decade after being bypassed for the succession of the North Korean leadership and falling out of favor with the regime now headed by his half-brother. In Macau, he apparently opted for a carefree lifestyle filled with trips to casinos, saunas, and 5-star hotels, where he's said to have a particular penchant for fine wine. The bon vivant didn't seem particularly concerned for his life. As witnesses told Macau Daily Times, he was usually not accompanied by bodyguards. Privately, however, he confided some fears to close friends. Apart from that, Kim was a family man, having raised a son and a daughter with his second and now former wife here in Macau. His children have reportedly developed deep roots in the city, studying in international schools and even being part of the Macau Lusophone Scout group at one point. The exiled Kim was reportedly residing here in this building in Taipa before meeting his death in Malaysia. But most of his neighbors seem to have been unaware of his real identity, as did other residents of Kuluan, where Kim is said to have had another house. In light of recent events, Radio Macau reports that authorities in Macau say they are willing to offer police protection to Jong-nam's family, though they haven't provided any further details related to the case. Before moving to Macau, Kim had reportedly held senior posts in the Pyongyang government, working in information technology and domestic intelligence.
Kim Jong-nam's death comes as North Korea is marking the 75th birth anniversary of his father, late leader Kim Jong-il. The North's state-run television KRT showed a video of Kim Jong-un along with North Korean high-ranking officials walking into the palace where the embalmed bodies of former North Korean leaders lie and bowing to the statues of late leader Kim Jong-il and founder Kim Il-sung. The late leader Kim Jong-il died on December 17, 2011. His birthday, February 16, which is now a national holiday, has also been designated as the Day of the Shining Star. KRT also aired video on Thursday of the military holding a massive outdoor rally in Pyongyang yesterday. The International Monetary Fund has become more optimistic over Macau's economy, forecasting 2.8% growth for this year. However, the organization has called for new policies to make housing more accessible while warning against loosening property restrictions. A real estate executive disagrees and says scrapping the divisive special stamp duty would help get more houses into the market.
The worst is over. The International Monetary Fund says Macau's economy has bottomed out and should return to growth in 2017 for the first time in 4 years. The organization praises the government for weathering the storm and keeping unemployment low, but it adds that the city must learn from the crisis.
The size and speed of the shock underscore the need to transition to a more diversified economic model going forward. The narrow export base will leave Macau as they are vulnerable to shocks, particularly with respect to a sharp slowdown in the mainland or policy changes that affect Chinese residents' ability to spend money abroad.
IMF says one welcome side effect of the casino slump has been a stabilization in the property market after home prices rose nearly fourfold in just 6 years. The government has introduced restrictions to curb sales, but IMF believes skyrocketing prices were mostly due to the city's strong economy. A Macau-based real estate executive agrees.
If you look at the price past 2-3 years, because it's more affected by the economy, mostly it's not really related to the special stamp duty. If you're looking at Hong Kong, the price still going up. Even Hong Kong have a higher restriction in terms of selling. Even Macau also is going up the price after a short rebound.
Ku is among several property agents and developers to call for an end to the special stamp duty, but IMF advises caution.
Fueling demand via loosening microprudential regulations amid tight supply may increase the price more than improve affordability.
In fact, the government told IMF it was open to further measures to curb property speculation. Yet the Jones Lang LaSalle managing director believes restrictions such as the special stamp duty are doing little to help residents.
This special stamp duty won't help the locals to buy house at the lower price. It won't help. It's not related. But it reduces transactions, which will affect the market, affect the investor, and affect the developers.
With housing prices a sensitive issue for public opinion, IMF says the government must work on both ends of the market. On the one hand, provide public housing to the poorest. At the same time, making more land available for developers to build market-price flats, namely in the new reclaimed areas.
With business stalling in the ramp-up for the Lunar New Year holiday period, new home sales have fallen to a 10-month low in January. A slow start for a year for which several property agencies were predicting a rebound in both home sales and prices. According to official data released yesterday, less than 650 flats were sold last month. That's the lowest figure since March last year, the month right after the 2016 Lunar New Year. About a month ago, property agency Rica Corp said it expected home sales to soar by more than 2/3 this year, with prices also rising 10%. However, home prices actually fell in January after reaching a 2-year high in December. BNU has announced a net profit of 560 million patakas in 2016, representing an annual growth of 9.8%. In an official statement, BNU says deposits have grown by 2.1%, while loan-to-deposit ratio fell by 51%. Meanwhile, the average number of bank products per customer has increased to 3.9%. Its chief executive, Pedro Cardoso, has also acknowledged the newly opened branch in Hengqin Island as an innovative step in the service of its clients and for bridging investments between mainland China and Portuguese-speaking countries. The Heritage Foundation says Macau is the 8th freest economy in the Asia-Pacific region, up 1 spot from a year ago. But the conservative think tank has downgraded the city's government integrity score over increasing protest against corruption and nepotism. According to the 2017 Index of Economic Freedom report, Macau has overtaken Japan and remains rated as mostly free for the 9th consecutive year. In addition, the SAR ranked 32nd worldwide, up 5 spots from 2016. However, Macau's score on government integrity has tumbled to just 37%, with the Heritage Foundation warning that the population is not as indifferent to politics as they used to be. The report also says tax burden on the gambling industry remains quite high at a time when some casino operators have called for a tax cut. The much-delayed slow march against the recently raised traffic fees, which also calls for the resignation of Secretary Raimundo do Rosario, is set to be held on Saturday. Protesters are set to meet at 2 p.m. at the Legislative Assembly and will head towards Ocean Gardens in Taipa at 3 p.m. The route will be made through the Saiwan Bridge. The march will then head to the Science Center, make a U-turn and head back to the Legislative Assembly. The order is then to disperse, with the exception of less than 5 cars, which will make their way to the government headquarters to submit the petition. This was the agreement reached by protesters and the police. This afternoon, Yang Weng-chai, representing residents who are against the traffic fee hike, admitted that this is the possible outcome.
As for the route given to us by the police this time, we are still not satisfied even after the first and second routes. However, when it comes to public interest, we must take action as soon as possible. We cannot delay it anymore. If we are unhappy again and we don't accept the route they gave us, the only thing we can do is to take it to court. If we do that, I think it would delay us 1 to 2 months. Then our request would also be delayed, and then the government would feel less pressure. We don't have a choice. We have to accept this route.
9 people were arrested today on suspicion of loan sharking after an operation in Taipa by the Judiciary Police. The head of the group is still at large.
The Judiciary Police were tipped off yesterday about a group living in an apartment at Huasengdo in Taipa that was involved in loan shark activities. Authorities then monitored the area and conducted a raid in the apartment, where they found 4 men and 5 women from mainland China. They also found 70,000 Hong Kong dollars in cash, IOU invoices, and duct tape. During interrogation, one of the arrested suspects admitted to being recruited by a man surnamed Wang from mainland China and coming to Macau last October. However, he said he has not been successful.
In addition to looking for customers in casinos, the suspect, last named Wang, also asked the members to introduce him to their friends. Then they could make joint ventures to carry out loan sharking activities. For the loans lent to the gamblers, Wang would give the members 10%, and for joint ventures, the amount was divided equally.
The case has been transferred to the Public Prosecution's Office for further investigation.
The Tobacco Control Office has pledged to step up efforts to enhance the conditions of the existing smoking lounges inside casino floors. The head of the smoking watchdog also reassures that they are not giving in to pressure by allowing smoking lounges, as they will have to meet the highest standards.
To ban or not to ban? The much-debated full smoking ban inside casinos remains the hot topic around town. Some accuse the government of giving in to the gaming operators' pressure by allowing smoking lounges. However, authorities have made it clear in this morning's TDN Radio Furnish show that smoking lounges will meet strict requirements to protect the workers' health. Tang Chi-hao pledges to work on enhancing the conditions of the existing smoking rooms.
Some callers mentioned just now if we accept a regression. Well, I must say we disagree with this statement because we know that there are some people who disagree with the establishment of smoking lounges inside casinos. So we are going to enhance the conditions of the lounges so as to inflict less impact to other employees.
Among all violations in casino floors, the smoking watchdog says most of the offenders were caught smoking inside VIP rooms.
Call for Caucasians to donate blood coming up on TDN News. All medical service providers will have to acquire civil liability insurance covering from $500,000 to $20 million patakas. The Executive Council reviewed 3 administrative regulations which will be implemented alongside the recently approved medical malpractice law.
The medical malpractice law is set to come into effect on February the 26th. The Executive Council has today announced 3 regulations to be adopted in line with the Act. The first regulation requires medical service providers to compulsory purchase civil liability insurance. The law stipulates that for individuals who are medical service providers, $500,000 to $2 million patakas insurance coverage is guaranteed. As for private or public organization providing the services, it suggests a coverage ranging between $1 to $20 million patakas.
The insurance will cover patients' physical or mental damages caused by a medical practitioner in violation of medical and health regulations, guidelines, professional ethics and principles, as well as some abnormal medical practices.
In order to ensure that all medical service providers are covered with insurance, the regulation suggests the monetary authority to come up with a special contract if they are rejected by at least 3 insurance companies. Another regulation suggests 7 members, 5 medical professionals and 2 legal professionals to form a medical error evaluation committee. They will be in charge of investigating any wrongdoings and submit a report 90 days after the accident, depending on its complexity. The final regulation suggests setting up a medical mediation center to handle disputes regarding medical compensations.
Macau's 7 Rotary clubs have organized a blood donation drive slated for the 25th of this month in cooperation with the Macau Blood Transfusion Center. This is to raise awareness of blood donation and also urge Caucasians and those with negative blood types to donate more.
A fear of needles? Well, that will need to be put on hold because a call has been put out for blood donations. Over the last 15 years, Rotary Blood Donation Day has been that bugle. Last year, there were around 14,000 people who registered to be blood donors, a 6.2% raise in comparison to last year. But with that raise in donations, there is also an increase in need for negative blood types, which are more commonly found in Caucasians. That is why this year's Rotary Blood Donation Day has a focus on that.
Because Macau is trying to be a world center for tourism and leisure, there are more foreigners and tourists who come to Macau. So this year we have a special request for Caucasians and those with a negative blood type to donate blood. This will help stockpile the blood in case anyone needs it in an emergency.
This comes after a foreigner had surgery delayed last year because there was a lack of blood on hand for the surgery. Along with the call for Caucasians and those with negative blood types to donate, the Macau Blood Transfusion Center also calls for bone marrow donations.
Since 2012, Macau residents have been able to register for bone marrow donations and join the Hong Kong Bone Marrow Donors database. Registering to be a bone marrow donor can help save people's lives, so it is highly encouraged to register and be one.
The 15th Rotary Blood Donation Day will be held on Saturday the 25th at the Flower City Garden in Taipa from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Medical staff will be on call for the donations, and the Macau Rotary Clubs have also arranged different activities to take place to make the event enjoyable.
Mainland authorities say as many as 79 people died from H7N9 bird flu in China last month. The figures stoke worries that the spread of the virus this season could be the worst on record.
With up to 79 people dead from bird flu in the past month alone, fears are rising that China could be facing the most dangerous season on record. January's death rate was 4 times higher than previous years, bringing the toll to at least 100 people since October. State media has issued a warning online telling people to avoid live poultry markets. And according to one virus expert who spoke to Reuters, there's been a slower than usual response to the outbreak from the markets themselves, some refusing to shut down quickly and contain the spread. The government says there's been over 300 bird flu cases in the past 3 to 4 months. But other health groups say that number is actually much higher. Chicken prices in China have fallen to their lowest level in a decade as the virus worsens. And although no major human-to-human spread has been recorded so far, the World Health Organization says it's impossible to rule out.
A mainland Chinese court jailed for life a former senior judge from the country's highest court. He was found guilty of corruption in the latest official to fall foul of a sweeping crackdown on graft. Qi Xiaoming, a former vice president of the Supreme People's Court, was put under investigation last year. State television said a court in the northern city of Tianjin found Qi guilty of accepting 115 million yuan in bribes between 1996 and 2015. CCTV said Qi admitted his guilt and has repented and so received a lighter sentence, likely meaning he avoided a death sentence. And here's the Asia Roundup for more stories making headlines for across the region.
A South Korean court has begun reviewing the arrest request for the Samsung Electronics vice chairman who faces allegations including bribery. Lee Jae-yong, the only son of the Samsung chairman, arrived at Seoul Central District Court for the hearing on his arrest. A Seoul court dismissed a special prosecutor's office initial request for Lee's arrest warrant 27 days ago. A special prosecutor's team investigating the influence peddling scandal that led to the impeachment of President Park Geun-hye requested his arrest. They're also seeking an arrest warrant for Samsung Electronics president Park Sang-jin, who oversees the company's external relations. Dozens of people have gathered at the Tokyo Metropolitan Government building to donate their old mobile phones, which will be recycled into medals for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. The Tokyo 2020 organizing committee hopes to gather as much as 8 tons of metal from outdated mobile phones and small appliances. The idea had drawn people across Japan to participate in the recycling campaign. The project aims to give the public a sense of direct involvement in the games, as well as to promote sustainability and save costs after the budget for the event ballooned to more than 3 trillion yen at one point. The organizers reduced that sum to 16.8 billion late last year. An Indonesian political expert says former Education Minister Anies Baswedan is expected to lead the second round of the race to become the next Jakarta governor after quick count results showed a narrow margin between 2 leading candidates. Baswedan, who was dropped from Widodo's cabinet after reshuffle in mid-2016, has largely stayed out of the headlines. But according to a political analyst, Baswedan's strategy of targeting the Islamic vote at a time when conservative Muslim groups were urging voters to shun a non-Muslim leader gave him a late boost. The Jakarta poll is being widely seen as a proxy battle for the 2019 presidential election.
And now sports. Bayern Munich routed Arsenal 5-1 in their Champions League last 16 first leg clash. The Gunners' defeat at the Allianz Arena included 4 second-half goals after they lost defender Loho Koscielny to injury. It leaves them facing elimination in the first knockout round for a 7th successive season. another match, title holders Real Madrid came from behind to beat Napoli 3-1. Lorenzo Insigne gave the Italians an early lead, but Karim Benzema equalized in the 18th minute before Toni Kroos and Casemiro both scored early in the second half for the home side. Tonight's first knockout round of the Europa League will pit two brothers against each other, with Manchester United's Paul Pogba facing his older brother Florentin, who plays for Saint Etienne. United manager Jose Mourinho joked this will not be so easy for their mother.
I think only Mom Pogba is a little bit in trouble, which is normal, you know. It's difficult for the lady to choose. It's not difficult, it's impossible for the lady to choose. I know from Paul that the mom wants a draw, but next week one son will be happy and another one will be sad. But I think only for the mom is a little bit of problem. For them, I think they will enjoy.
Absolutely. I agree it's not going to be easy for her, but at the same time, what a fantastic moment it will be for her to see her two sons playing out there tomorrow night. Maybe the best result for her will be a draw, but we'll be going all out to get the best result for ourselves. Whoever wins, she'll be happy in some respect.
You can watch this match and more Europa League football later tonight, right here on TDM. The clash between Manchester United and Saint Etienne start at 4, live on TDM HD. Earlier, you can also see another English side, Tottenham, travel to Belgium's Gent. Both games will also be broadcasted via TDM's online and mobile phone application platforms. The Asian Football Confederation has issued a life ban from football for match manipulation to 19 players from Laos. The decision comes 3 months after 4 Laos players were suspended in the aftermath of a surprising loss against Macau. In a press release, the Asian Football Confederation says the Laotian players were involved in manipulating matches of the Laos national team and of club side Lao Toyota. The life ban covers in total 22 people, including the assistant coach of the Laos national team and 2 Cambodian players. 4 of the Laotian players had already been provisionally suspended last November, just 2 days after they were defeated by Macau in the Asian Solidarity Cup, casting a shadow on the team's fairy tale run to the finals. AFC did not disclose which matches were tainted, saying the investigation is still ongoing. Officials at the Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington prepared giant panda Bao Bao for her trip to China as part of a breeding agreement. The 3-year-old panda is the first surviving cub born at the zoo since 2005. Bao Bao will enter the breeding program for giant pandas under an arrangement between the zoo and the China Wildlife Conservation Association that says all cubs born at the U.S. National Zoo must move to China by the time they turn 4 years old. Upon arrival in Chengdu, China, she will travel to a facility run by the China Conservation and Research Center for the giant panda, accompanied by 1 keeper and 1 veterinarian from the National Zoo. Bao Bao's brother, Tai Shan, was sent to China in 2010. And before we go, let's take a look at tomorrow's weather. It will be fine apart from cloudy periods. Temperature will range between 15 and 23 degrees centigrade. That's the news tonight. Thank you for watching. Good night.